The honor of introducing today's guest speaker has been passed to me. The plain fact is, he really needs no introduction. By the same token, he shouldn't be treated any different from our other speakers, so you're going to get one. Who is this man? Well, he recently went to Cuba, where I'm sure he was addressed as El Alcalde. In Croatia, the land of his ancestors, it might be Gradonačelnik or perhaps Vichy, although according to my City Hall translator, it's not clear whether there is really an equivalent title for mayor in Croatian.
Not mayor.
To most everyone, he's FoFo. And of course, in the Biloxi Lions Club, he's Lion Jay's brother, and the late, great Lion Claire's nephew, and Lion Tina's cousin. I asked Lion Jay to share a little-known fact about our speaker. A lot of people know that he attended the University of Houston, but few know why. Was it the academics? I'm sure that was a factor. Was it the athletics program? Maybe. The Cougars had a pretty good basketball team back then. But the most important reason was that he was an avid surfer. And Houston is not far from the waves of Galveston. And not only did he spend time at the beach, he rode around in style in a white GTO with red interior. So now you know at least the rest of his college story. Well, there were some stories she told I did not repeat, yes. As I said, he recently visited Cuba to explore some opportunities for the city. I happened to see him a couple of days before he left and wished him a good trip. His parting words were that he hoped he got back. So just by his presence here today, we can see that the trip was at least successful in that regard. Without any further ado, please welcome the Honorable Mayor of the City of Biloxi, Andrew FoFo Gilich.
It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be mayor. I can't tell you how proud I am to lead our city and our beloved families that make the city up, because it is certainly unique to the world, not just the United States, but to the world. So my hearing is a little bit bad too, as I came back from Cuba. So. But I'm going to get to that. But it was a fun trip, so I'm going to get to that a little bit later on. But Jerry, I had the pleasure of addressing a few weeks ago. So Jerry kind of said, "Why don't you come up and talk to the Lions?" I said, "Yeah, of course." And like I said, this is family to me, and so it was a great pleasure. But at the Diabloville Businessmen's Club, I said, "Who'd have thought that I'd have been addressing, in downtown Diabloville, the Diablo businessmen?" But Albert James Fountain said, "Well, man," says, "how you want to introduce you?" I said, "Just as the mayor." And I tell them, I can't do this today, but I said, I'll come talk with you. Everybody has cell phones, turn them off. I don't want any of this recorded. Whatever I say, you got to stay in Diabloville. Because I did get in trouble. But I related a few stories, and again, some of you might not appreciate that North Biloxi accent. But I said there was a guy from North Biloxi. His name was Norton. His last name was Norton. And he'd always come into K9s or some of the sportsman's lounge. He says, "Man," he says, "I got a big problem." And K9 would say, "Well, what is it, Norton?" He says, "I don't know whether they cut the grass or jack the house." But and then I did get in trouble with being recorded. One time, it was last year, I think, we reenacted the landing of the Diabloville. I think it was WXXV that got him, interviewed me afterwards. "What are you doing over here? I said, "Man, I've been coming to Diabloville since I was riding my bicycle, and maybe 12 years old." I said, "My first love was over in Diabloville. I drive that bridge and go up Racetrack Road." So I get home after nights on TV, and my wife of almost 50 years says, "Who was your girlfriend in Diabloville?" So I gotta watch what I say. But again, it's a great pleasure to be here and leading our Biloxi. I don't know if you've watched Game of Thrones. Anybody watch Game of Thrones? You know, the Seven Kingdoms. Okay, okay, we got. Again, this is a joke. Just a joke. Got 7 councilmen, right? 7 councilmen. Anyway, we did pass our budget last night, and we're proud to say no increase. Okay, still at 30 mills, still at 43 mills for the schools. Just the best bang for the buck around. We're at 109 mills, much lower than to your east and to your west, these cities. So we're real proud to be here. Again, we're very fortunate about some of the income, the revenue streams that we have. Gaming, the sales tax, the visitation we have, all contributes to keeping that tax low. So that's one thing I am really proud of, that we're going to sustain our asking of our citizens in the way of taxes to contribute. So we're at 30.1 mills, lower than a lot of folks. Again, we had to step up a little bit with the water and sewer. You've heard a little bit about the ongoings with the utility authority, and that's another hour story that we don't have. But we have been trying to, by law, you have to make water and sewer enterprise fund pay for itself. So that's why we stepped up. There was a scheduled tax increase or scheduled rate increase, which still we're 20% lower than everybody else, on the coast with water and sewer. So we stepped that up a little bit in order to balance the budget of water and sewer enterprise fund. So, that has been, a big effort since June to make sure that our revenues and expenses balance. That's a balanced budget. And then again, we've listed a number of projects that we're going to go forward with. I brought some pictures, and I'll get to it in just a little bit. Let me finish my budget pitch. But we've got a number of capital projects that we're going to do. We've got a couple of new fire stations going in, in Ward 6 and Ward 7. Again, we're trying to do some revitalization, two-way traffic on Howard Avenue. Again, the restoration of the Sanger, using a lot of the money we feel like we should have a lot of is Thailand's money. And we've been begging and asking to do some things to enhance our beach. And my main concern, we're coming up on probably a big weekend in October, which is cruising the coast. And you'll notice when we have a wind event, that sand on that beach gets on the Highway 90. Now, the first year in office, I spent $450,000. Last year, I spent $500,000. We're probably spending a little bit more doing not City of Biloxi's job, but MDOT and the county's job. Get that sand off the beach because it's dangerous. You could look right here, and I'll get to this in a minute, because this is a project we met 3 times with scientists on what we can do. You look at that sand, and you look at that picture. There's 9 steps on that seawall. All right, you can see that sand is at the 2nd step. And they've tried with the Sand Beach Authority, it's all kinds of who owns this and who's responsible for that. Well, hey, the bottom line is it's Biloxi. It's got to be safe, friendly, and beautiful. And that's my mission, and that's what we're going to do. And rest assured that, we're not going to duck any punches, and we're not going to hold back any punches, So we're going to get a project, a test project from the in conjunction with the Sand Beach and the county and the state, and some scientists from Mississippi State and from USM and from Rice University on a pilot project from the small craft harbor all the way to Coon Street to do something different. And I'll talk to you about that in just a moment. But we're trying to use science in order to do some of the things that doing the same thing over and over makes no sense. And Vincent will tell you, and I drive both of them crazy, on how we measure things and how we use just simple logic to attack problems. And believe me, there's no shortage of problems. It's amazing, and I talked to my family about how it's required to pivot. Right in the middle of a conversation, something happens, and you got to, in computer terms, you got to load your registers and do an exchange jump. You go from lawyers to garbage pickup, and that happens all the time.
And sometimes it feels like the same.
It does, I'm telling you. But I mean, that's what I signed up for. And believe me, Jay and I were talking about some rumors that were going around that the stress is getting to me. Okay? and probably won't run again. I'm just no announcement, okay? This is no announcement. But the people that know me know that I've been like this since I was 15 years old, and probably a little bit before then. But I'm a dice player, and I like action. So I'm thriving on the action that this presents to me. It's amazing, the decisions, whether it's a $100,000 decision or a $100 million decision, and that keeps my juices going. So I'm having a great time. So say a prayer for me, but because some things I don't have control of. But the stress is something that just keeps me plugging away, just like my whole family. We don't shy away from doing the things that need to be done for our family of Biloxi and the city of Biloxi that we all love so much. I talked a little bit about, so we got a balanced budget. We look forward. We got some good indicators on some of the revenue streams like personal property and envelope taxes. We've been realistic on what we say we're going to collect. We took a hit with a casino. I think when I first came in office, we budgeted about $18.5 million, and we reduced that to 17.5 due to the downturn in the economy and another downturn in the gaming a little bit, and then the Solid Pearl opening up. So that cut into our revenue stream. But we have I call them the 8 families that we deal with on a monthly basis, and that's 7,300 hotel rooms, and that helps me and you, everybody, every head in bed every night contributes to what we're able to do as a city and keep those taxes low. Keeping those taxes low and keeping the quality of life where it needs to be, again, safe, friendly, and beautiful contributes to the Biloxi image. You've got a 318-year-old image right now, and people know that around the world. They know that, so you don't have to say Biloxi anything. Biloxi, they know Biloxi, especially in Cuba. We took a picture at the visitor center of the Alphaville, and literally he, in 1699, he came from Biloxi, went to Cuba. Of course, he raided an island and got a lot of iron ore. He was trying to sell it in Cuba, Havana, Cuba. Got yellow fever and died in 1709. So he was an entrepreneur. But I had the Biloxi flag, and I said, I better not take a picture in Havana Harbor with him. It caused an international incident. Thank goodness, we did come back, and it was an amazing trip. I'm not really staying to my script, but I'm going to tell you about it. An opportunity came about almost at the beginning of 17. We met with the first secretary of the Cuban embassy in D.C. when it was up there. His name is Miguel Fraga. So he's the head man of not the ambassador, but he runs the operation of the embassy. We talked about in July 9 through 11 to have the Cuban national team play an all-star, an amateur team here in Biloxi. That didn't happen because we couldn't get the all-star collegiate folks, because they were going to the Cape Cod League or getting drafted by the Major League Baseball, so we couldn't pull it off. But the trip was to go there and engage those folks there to get the Cuban national team to play in Biloxi, sometime in or around, the end of the, or in the spring or at the end of the college season. And also there was as a matter of fact, in this room, the Commodore of the Havana Yacht Club, the only yacht club in Cuba, visited, Biloxi Yacht Club. So we visited with them and an ability to maybe put a race between Biloxi and Havana Harbor, a yacht race or a sailboat race. Anyway, things may have changed with the president's speech last night. And this is newsworthy right here, because today, at 1:15, Miguel Fraga, from the first secretary of the Cuban embassy in D.C., was scheduled to be here in Biloxi and, go to a number of spots. But unfortunately, after that speech, it was canceled, rescheduled. He called yesterday and said, man, I've never had to reschedule anything in my life as the state's, working for the State Department or their operation. But they had to do that. So we were disappointed that he was going to be here through the Saturday. So but that was a international kind of thing that impacted here in Biloxi, Mississippi. So we were going to welcome him. We had, as a matter of fact, we were going to take him to the Simonia Lodge on Thursday night. That might have caused another incident. Yeah, he didn't know who. That was interesting. We went to, average. You can see the first thing off when you get there. You can see that 57 years of communism didn't work. And it made Division Street look good as far as the education. Yeah. Average salary is $25 a month. A doctor, $200 a month. Now they have a lot of doctors. There's things that work, but a lot of things don't work. But you see that little taste of freedom that they have is going to open up the world. You cannot deny it. And $25 a month, you give somebody a $10 tip down there. That's a big deal. Or you go down there with a box of ballpoint pens. That's just as good as dollars. We did have a great time. And again, the boys, they call the boys. I had some interesting thoughts down there and on the way to there. Flying from Atlanta right into Havana, I'm thinking, so what am I going down here for? They don't have any money. We can't make any money off of them. Like I said, but I was thinking my cousin, a gambler, Anton Seco was his name, and he would always say, I would rather play a cheater with $10,000 than an honest man with 100, because I can make more money. Okay, but so anyway, I'm thinking, as a matter of fact, we went to a couple of places where Hemingway used to hang out. There was a bar called Floridita. And did you go there? You went there?
I've heard of it.
But anyway, the amazing part was there's so many French, Portuguese, Spanish, and Canadian tourists there all the time. I mean, and they come 6 weeks at a time. And I said, what better opportunity? Who wants to stay in any one place 6 weeks? Come to Biloxi. Come to Biloxi. Because, you can do these day trips where you got $29 flights to Orlando or, Sanford Airport. Go for a couple of days while you're here in Cuba 6 weeks. So an indirect kind of way to make money is not through the Cubans, but through the tourists. The perception is that, hey, we're going to go to Cuba. So that was one little click. But while we were at Floridita, I'd never seen this in my life, and my cousin and my sister and my Aunt Claire, anytime you see a microphone or an opportunity to perform, they had a group, 3 ladies and a couple of guys, and they had a little, like a foot pedal. It was playing a cowbell. And so this gal was playing, guitar, and on her foot, she was stopping and playing the cowbell. And so I get up there with him. I said, look, the only thing I know in Spanish is La Bamba. So and that was Richie Valens, 1962. So, I mean, it was an American song. But everybody in the world knew La Bamba, so we cranked it up in Floridita that night. But did come out. I never smoked anything in my life, but I came back with a box of Cubans. So, I talked with Buddy the other day, so I got to deliver something. But it was a great trip. We met with the the Minister of U.S. Division of Foreign Affairs and talked a little bit. It was interesting. Every little cab driver that we came to, it was a 55 Chevrolet, 56 Chevrolet, all the first cars I ever had. And I'm examining them. The group that was with us said, why do you got to ask all these questions? I said, I want to see. So there's a 59 DeSoto convertible, emerald green, just beautiful, beautiful. So let me see the engine, because there was an engine that I wanted to see, which was a fire dome. It was a hemispherical head fire dome engine. Of course, he had a Mercedes-Benz engine in it. And he had Toyota, so it all is not what it seems, right, Vincent? So I'm examining, I'm looking at it, all got nice chrome wheels, all American made. So where the hell did you get those cars? And they had, disc brakes. None of those cars had disc brakes. And so there was some way to get American product, because all of them had, disc brakes and chrome wheels. And so I guess they got them all through Canada. But, there was, again, especially when it comes to those cabs and the things that were interesting. I'd go back, and I think there are 2 million people in Havana. The people are just great, Again, you still have to watch what you say. The place the Nacional was where we stayed, and it's owned by the Cuban government. And some of the people, concierge, and some of the people that get you a cab and so forth, they're, Marines or their version of CIA. So, you got to watch what you say. The boys are, Fidel, Raul, and Che Guevara. That's what they call the boys. The boys wanted this. They blame everything on the embargo and all of that stuff. But it was interesting. We went there are forts everywhere. You know, for the history of Havana was unbelievable. And what got me, every time they do an excavation of some place where they're going to build something, they uncover these cannons. And cannons everywhere. You know, like we had, guarding out there. Well, anyway, what they do with those cannons, if they got to block a street, they dig a hole and put one of them cannons in. So you get some cannons everywhere. They want to be treated. Their philosophy is that we want Cuba to be rich, but we don't want a Cuban to be rich. So, it was good to, and I interacted. You know, Vincent will tell you, so I like to discuss things. Not all, I wasn't arguing. I like to discuss things. But we talked about, doing business. We've got a great port, right? We've got a great opportunity for tourism. We've got a lot of things. And the competition, so to speak, was Florida. But Florida has some philosophical, people, generations have to die out because, the leaders right now were born during or before the revolution. Now, Raul should be stepping aside in February of 2018, and he will be replaced by a person who died after the revolution. So that may be some operational differences. But there's a big obstacle, with Trump and some of the things that prevent Americans from investing in Cuba, and I don't know all the reasons, but that is an obstacle. And then in Florida's 90 miles away from Havana, and but they have there's a lot of folks of Cuban descent in the South Florida area that always there's going to be a problem doing business with Florida and Cuban and Florida collecting. But we have it's not that deep of an issue for the people of Mississippi, and we've got a great port. You don't have to go to 8 hours up the channel to get to New Orleans. So I mean, we've got some opportunity, but again, you got to I guess to be thoughtful and be careful on what you can do. But I was real confident that we could do business under our rules, but they were concerned about any time that business has been done with Cuba, more my money up front. That's the way I would be, but they, some of these other countries are giving them a year, 2 years worth of credit. Well, who knows what will happen in 2 years? So I mean, this is American way, you trust but verify. I think Reagan said that. So it was. I didn't mean to take up all that time, but it was a great trip.
Wonderful story.
But anyway, again, it's opportunity related to who we are, Biloxi. Some of the things we're doing. I mentioned a little bit about the capital improvements with in Wool Market and water and sewer and those things. But some of the capital projects that we're going to make happen. Of course, the Sanger. Sanger's probably the most historical, operational thing that we have going. It needs about $1.3 million worth of just repair to keep the water out of the building. And we've asked. There's $22 million in the state archaeology, history and archaeology, and we've been asked year after year. We've gotten zero out of that, but we've got about $700,000. We need about another $500,000 that we're chasing to actually fix the roof, fix the walls, and then go forward with that. Also about $1.2 million to open up Howard Avenue to two-way traffic. Same footprint. The buildings hadn't moved. We have the ability to recover some of those bricks. If you look at some of these pictures after the meeting, the street itself looks like a dance floor. And if you've ever been to Beale Street, about the same length. I mean, it's just an opportunity to. It's different than Bourbon Street. No, it has no comparison. Maybe Frenchman Street in New Orleans. It's a real place. But again, we're going to make that happen. We're in the final throes of the engineering, and that will happen, this year, because we'll be bidding it out. The other thing I mentioned about the sand beach, there's a picture, 1927 to 1932, that whole seawall was laid. And if you look at the rebar and stuff, that seawall is not going anywhere, and it amazes me what people think that they, especially the Corps of Engineers, don't touch that seawall, don't touch that sand, and it doesn't make sense to me. That seawall's 9 steps long, deep. And we just said, what's the natural, easy thing to do? Move that sand down. 260 foot is right at the edge of that pier. That's how far that sand should bend. That's how much the beach should be. 260 feet all along our beachfront. 26 miles of total beachfront. That was all, and I think they're going to do $3.4 million worth of restoration, but none in Biloxi, some of these other places. So, but there are pieces of science here. It's called the toral drift. Is that sand is eaten and moved from east to west through the tides, and the prevailing winds will carry that. And you can see how it scours out around with some of those drain pipes and builds up and down. You get 400 something feet at the end of the east wall of the small craft harbor. So a project, we talked with, again, some scientists, what can we do? We had a guy from Mississippi State talking about a dune, okay? And there are dunes right here, not high enough, and the sand is still too close to it's on the second step. Yet every time it blows, sand gets on I just want to get that damn sand off the highway, you know? And sand, that's another thing that was identified. Our sand is, micron is a millionth of a meter, right? Well, our sand, if you look at the grain, is 100 microns in diameter. Well, you know, the sand in Florida, the sand up Tom Bigby waterway that they were actually doing the Camille cut with is 600. So that means it's 6 times the mass. So it takes six times the velocity and the duration of a wind event to get that sand. We just need heavier sand, okay? But also, now I'm going to move over here. So right now, you look at the sand is right up here to that second step, right? Okay. And you'll see we have 31,000 feet of seawall from the Beach Road to here. Okay, we got 14,000 of it that is covered by a poured concrete 10-foot wide walkway. My thought is we need to have that whole walkway so you can, like they do on the bridge, you see 100-something people on that bridge. That's a 10-foot wide walkway, a boardwalk. It's not a board, but it's a boardwalk. You know, you got people who ride their bicycles, use strollers and do those things that you want to do. So, you know, my thoughts is, well, how do we do this and how do we do it fast? You know, my fuse is lit. I want us to be able to walk this thing before it's over with. But this project, this is our third meeting, we're coming up here, from that small craft over to Coon Street. We're going to take and make a 10-foot walkway, and it will tie into the 5th step. So, yeah, we're not destroying the seawall. We're just setting things up, and it's almost like a big Lego, where they fit one into a 10-foot section. We just install 100 feet a day, we can do that. And $300 a foot. Got 3,500 feet to do. So you'll see very shortly a pilot project doing that. Lowering that beach profile, at least to the 5th step.
So you're talking about something prefab, huh?
Oh yeah. Just like a Lego, they'll fit tongue and groove, right? You know, one fits into the other. There'll be a little bit of welding to tie them together, but not pouring, digging down, putting a footing, pouring, get a concrete chuck and pour it. This is done, you know, prefabrication. It's done successfully everywhere. You look at bridge construction, those bridge decks. So that will be a unique thing. But the other kicker is that if this is the 10-foot section, there'll be an 18-inch kick wall that you can sit on like a step. But guess what does that do? That adds more height that the sand has to get off, right? So, take that, pat myself on the back. So, you know, I can get out, you know, everybody, they're positive people and negative people. First thing, so it's going to take you 16 months to get permission from the Corps of Engineers to do that. I said, to do what? We're just setting something on the seawall. You know? It's well, you know, we can't move that sand because it's protecting the seawall. I said, I told her, I said, look at that. I said, you know, this seawall's been there since 1927. How many hurricanes have we had since 1927? They didn't touch that seawall. But that's just me being argumentative. See, I do that to everybody.
Did the guy say you were howling?
No, I wasn't howling.
You got 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Well.
Thank
you. Threw me a lot. But anyway, there's some things that are going to happen. And that's a project you're going to see. As a matter of fact, we were digging to find out where that was. And I can tell you about 10 or 15 people came up and said, what are you doing? They were all excited about the ability to continue that walkway. That's going to happen. The saying of the two-way traffic is going to happen. Again, some of the improvements we talked about, fire safety. You know, we got the best rating in the state. Adding 2 more fire stations. All that's going to happen. And again, without raising new taxes. So, you know, yeah. Anyway, sure.
Also, before they start that, I hope they'll finish the streets in Biloxi.
That's another thing. I've been
Seems like
avoiding
they've been
that
working
problem.
on those for 20 years.
Since, how about since 2014? Yeah.
Well, that's about right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Again, I'll come back next week if you want to talk about that.
Yes, I would love to hear about that.
I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm not going to put the hammer on anybody. My lawyers say that this is the worst contract that has been practiced in law 55 years. Never seen a contract worse than this.
yeah, it's awful. I mean, I know that some of the businesses had to have closed.
Everybody. Yeah. I can tell you 6 of them right now on
Yeah.
Division Street.
That's ridiculous.
It's complex, and again, Vincent will tell you, I was working on a schedule 5 minutes before I was here. You know, I'm just trying to say, what are you going to do to finish this?
Yes.
Well, you know, it's $344 million worth of contract. We've $130 million into it. That means we got a lot to go.
Yes, we do.
We haven't touched south of the railroad tracks.
But it would be nice if they finish one before they start the next one.
You know, and my cousin Tina will tell you that's means and methods. Right? Means and methods.
Yeah.
You can't tell me. It gets in the contract. And why in the world did they tear up all the roads and they don't touch it for a year?
Right,
You know,
right.
There's amendments and addendums.
Right.
So quickly, Mayor, what's the plan when you come south of the tracks? Are you
Well,
gonna do the same
the whole
thing?
idea, you can't go to another section unless you're 75% complete of the section you're working in.
That's
so
right.
you can't move. But yet, there's something called, and Tina, correct me if I'm wrong, unbalanced bid. Okay? Unbalanced bid, you get the most profit for doing the easiest thing. So you preload the cubic yards or the linear feet, where the money is in water, where the profitable things that you do first is. And again, this is a fact. I'm not, you know, defending anything, but just tell this is it. You know, they got $14 million $13 million in 2014 just to start the job.
Good.
They call that mobilization.
Okay.
But anyway, you know, 90% of the water is done of the whole project. The deepest part, that you know, it would seem that you do the deepest, most complex thing first, which is the sewer. The sewer runs from about 10 foot down to 34 foot down in 2 places. I mean, 34 foot down in Biloxi is deep.
It is.
You know, but no, they did the most profitable thing, or the most profitable thing was done. And that's why when the milling, they call that milling, tear up the streets, get that off the ground. And they milled the whole street, 55 miles of street were milled.
Well, they might have the pipes in, but they haven't got the streets paved yet.
That's right, exactly. They're trying to tell me to be quiet. And I've enjoyed it, thank y'all so much.
Thanks.
I'll come back with another subject.
Thanks, Judy, for bringing up the roads, because now I got to drive home to see Lamb.
Sorry, darling.
They're not as bad as Cuba, so.
Yes. Before we adjourn, the mayor referred to 2 of his star employees, one our own Lion Vincent Creel. I'd also like to introduce Cecilia Dobbs Walton, who works in the mayor's office. Thank you for being here. Mayor, we're very glad you're here. We appreciate all the times that you accept our invitations to come to our meetings, and we look forward to having you back. You are welcome anytime. And let's remind our guests of our motto.
In Biloxi we serve.
Very good. Thank you.